Hello, you're watching Studio Ken. Make sure you don't miss any episode of Studio Ken by subscribing to the YouTube channel. To subscribe, search for Studio Ken on YouTube, click subscribe on the bottom right of your screen, and set a reminder. You can also watch Studio Ken on Diamond TV on Wednesday at 18:30 and on Saturday at 19 hours. Studio Ken, the home of Kennedy Gondwe on YouTube.
All around the world, as people are ordered to isolate themselves or practice social distancing to stem the spread of COVID-19, healthcare workers have remained on the front lines fighting the deadly virus. As a result, many healthcare providers, including doctors and nurses, have lost their lives due to exposure to the disease. My guest on Studio Ken is Dr. Prince Kanyinda, who tested positive for the virus before fighting it off in hospital.
Hi, this is James Chamanga. You're watching Studio Ken. Don't forget to subscribe.
Doc, welcome to Studio Ken.
Thank you very much, Ken, to have given me this opportunity to come here.
First things first, take me through the journey of your infection to the coronavirus. How did you get the virus?
Wow, that question is quite difficult to answer, but you know, as a medical personnel, I've been on front line, working, touching patients left and right in the ward. So I think it could have come in one of the way. So it's difficult to point exactly at which start I got it and so on.
But would you remember maybe just a rough idea of when exactly you thought, now I've got the virus?
Wow, that's a very good thing. I always suspect because you see, like the month of June, we had a lot of cases of corona. And those corona cases were passing through our working place. You know, I work under Premium Services. That is UTH.
Yeah, the university.
The university. It's a place where we receive VIPs, all these people on scheme. So they were passing through there. And as I stated earlier on, that month we had a lot of cases. So I was the one swabbing most of them. So it could have come from one of the patients, yeah.
What made you go for a test?
What made me go for the test? It's, you know, when we swab people, you put your number on the form, and once the results are positive, the lab calls you. Say, hello, doc, one of your patients here has tested positive, so that you can advise the patient, communicate to the patient. So I was called. Among that week I did, I don't know, 70 or 50 cases where I was swabbing. So among them, 4 of them, I was called. Hey man, here your guys, this. Then I felt like, no, here now, I'm into it. So I called the guys and I said, let me have also a test. Because most of these people were mingling, you know. Then that's how I went to get a test the same day when the result for the others came. So 2 days later, I felt sick. Then I said, what is this? Now the type of sickness I had, it was not really that one of COVID. Because COVID, as you know, they say there's sneezing, flu, cough, chest pain, things like that. I just got tired, like someone who's having malaria, you know, kind of joint pain, like UTI, you know. So I went home and I told my wife. My wife, by the way, she's a nurse. Said, no, sweetie, here it's like I've contracted the UTI or something like that. So we started some medication from home on the same day, but it couldn't stop. Whereby you can stand, you know, even malaria itself, it has never done me like that. So that's how my wife just said, hey, let's go to the hospital. And she advised me to go back to UTH. But that day, since I worked there, I knew that it was full, packed of COVID suspects, a lot. Then I said, no, let us go to Victoria. That's how she drove me to Victoria. I reached Victoria Hospital. Yeah, I would mention again something like stigma or something like that. Mm-hmm. I entered there. Just reaching Victoria, I sneezed. Mm-hmm. You see, I was already talking to people inside there. I saw everyone ran away and they went, they changed They came with
fellow doctors, that is.
fellow doctors, the workers. They put gloves. Then I could read there, it was written that flu, what, we don't see from here. There is an isolation room where they should see. Now that isolation room was also full, very much full. So that's how they took me outside. They just said, no, you go sit outside. We're going to see you from outside.
How much of stigma, you talk about stigma, how much of stigma would you say actually affects people and as such they don't want to go for testing because of what you went through?
Yeah, you know, stigma, it's real. Even right now, for me to come here, you know, on the road, people, you know, me, I've come open. I'm sharing. I want to share my experience with the world, the people, so that we know exactly this disease is new to us. So this is the time to brainstorm and know how we can, you know, fight it together. Now, sometime, you know, people, I've called a lot of people, guys, come, we make up something together, we see how we can advocate, we can, you know, we can proclaim ourselves activists against this COVID-19. But some, they don't want to come in open. And that's where, by the way, I'm a candidate for Masters in Psychology. I'm writing up on my thing, I'm talking about confidentiality against this COVID.
Before then, you spoke about you as a doctor having to self-medicate. Again, that is something that has become very common amongst people. The moment they feel a certain way, they think that it is malaria. How do you think that affects the fight against COVID? Because people are self-medicating, especially when they hear it from a doctor like yourself who had to self-medicate, and yet this is something that you're actually discouraging people from doing.
Yeah, I hear you. But as you know, right now, I will tell you there is no treatment for this COVID. This is a new disease which has come to us. And that's why we hear there are conferences, people are trying to brainstorm and find the guidelines. The guideline is there, Ken. But because myself, I can tell you, I was even inside the hospital. I will tell you, I was just receiving Panadol. Panadol killed me from COVID. So I wouldn't say all these stories I'm hearing, get chloroquine, get this. I've never taken those things.
But doesn't that actually speak to how inadequately prepared Zambia has been to fight COVID? Because if you're going to display those symptoms and you're just given Panadol as a doctor, what about a common guy on the street? Isn't that speaking to the ill-preparedness?
Well, I like the way you are talking. Because Panadol, it's a drug. It's a medicine. It treats. It's just because people outside there, they are thinking, before, I get some patients who are coming to me. They will tell me, I went to the clinic, they just gave me Panadol. Panadol, it's a drug.
But it doesn't cure COVID, does it?
Wow, there it's again another Pandora box you are opening. Because me, I had COVID, and I was taking Panadol. Why? Because we're treating, with this COVID, what we treat, most of the time, we treat the symptoms. That's why they say if you are asymptomatic, some people are even home, meaning you don't have any symptom. But now, in my case, had pain, had fever at the same time. What's the treatment for fever? For pain? It's a painkiller. And the one which was available, it's Panadol, diclofenac, all those things.
So how much of Panadol actually helped you come off or fight off COVID?
Wow, the Panadol, I was receiving it as I'm in pain. I'm in pain, you get a Panadol. But the doctor had put me on the normal dose, where they say get it 3 times per day, or something like that, yeah.
So are you therefore saying for people that are watching the program right now, if they display the kind of symptoms that they had, Panadol is a miracle cure for the time being?
Don't get me wrong, Ken. Here we are talking, remember that medicine is something else. It's very vague and it's big, vast. What it is, I emphasize that we are treating symptoms, signs. You have a pain, get a painkiller. We are not saying it's only Panadol. Panadol is what was available for me. If you have, I don't know, chest pain, anything which is there which can go to the chest, get it. And of course, we have some general drugs which are to prevent the worst. Because the people are dying with COVID, it's when they have reached that worst stage.
But at the same time, we've heard and read about stories where even Panadol in some institutions, government institutions, is not readily available. How true is that?
Wow, you are now dragging me into a department where I can't go. I'm not really here. Here I'm talking as a, you know, a COVID survivor.
So as a survivor, when you were finally told that you got COVID, how did you react?
Ish. My dear, I just said, sorry for the viewers or the listeners. I said this is killing me now. So I started looking around me. I had gone through, you know, I'm a psychologist, I had gone through what we say, retrospection, prospection, inner reflection in myself. I started seeing things around.
What things?
Like what we know, what you know, it's you get COVID, you are dead, isn't it? And most of the people who are getting COVID, who were getting COVID without coming to in the open, the way I'm here, open, they were dying. We can see China, you have USA, Italy is finished. All the doctors are gone. So it's kind of.
Did you start preparing a will, calling the insurance company to take care of your family once you are gone?
Wow, it sounds very funny, the question, but you can see on one of the photos there. Actually, I wrote it. I wrote it. And I managed to get phones for all my kids where we were like, you know, video calling. They could see me. There was no minute where we couldn't talk to them. You could see them crying, what, and me, their dads, the way I was already flat.
As a doctor, would you say there was any preparation that you went through as someone who actually suffered from COVID?
What kind of preparation?
Psychologically, it all started with you suspecting to have a UTI, and then suddenly you go to this hospital, and then there's a stigma. Was there any time you prepared yourself psychologically to say, look, I may have COVID-19 after all?
Of course. When I went myself, in fact, I called one of the junior doctor I was working with, say, hey, all my people have tested positive. I've been with them. Can you come and swab me? We never know. Because if you get the result before, there's a way of, you know, preparing yourself to not get the worst. So that young doctor came and swabbed me. And meanwhile, I had said it already. 2 days later, that's when these symptoms started. And so prepared psychologically. Yes, I was. Because it's myself I went for testing.
People believe that the lack of protective gear for medical personnel such as yourself is actually putting you at risk. Others actually say you are flying blind. Do you agree?
I will say yes, and I will say no. Because, you know, yes, because at first when this COVID started, we didn't have, you know, adequate staff to gear up ourselves. So on that angle, I would say yes. Because sometimes we're made to put on one PPE for 3 days, a week even. But
what is the normal period that you're supposed to be putting on that?
These things, some people, they put them, some they can put on a patient, per patient, some they can put per day. So
3 to 4 days or a week is quite abnormal, isn't it?
It is abnormal, but we can't blame anyone. Because this disease, as I said, it just came. And we are preparing how to familiarize with it.
So how well protected do you think people on the front line are?
On the front line, I can give an example where I was at Levy. Of course, people are geared. You can see even myself in one of the pictures. I'm fully protected. But
You still got it.
yes, so how did I get it? Maybe on removing, we don't know how to handle those things after work. You can touch, it can be a phone, straight away, a pen or something like that. So we need more guidance, more on the use of those PPE.
How has this virus changed the relationship between patients and doctors?
Yeah, it has really changed the relation. As in, we are scared. You know, it's like there is something in between us. Before it was, you come, okay, how are you? Fine, you sit there. I will stand up, I will touch you, check even blood level. You know, now it's quite, we get precautions. I'm not talking about social distancing with the patient, but when you have adequate PEP, you continue the same. But when you don't have, so you need the way you say yourself, you need to be on yourself. Yeah.
Give me an idea. Each time that you are leaving home, do you say a prayer that you don't get the disease? Do you actually feel motivated to go for work given the uncertainty surrounding COVID-19?
On that, I'll tell you that I'm a medical doctor for years now. That was a core for me. And the disease, being a medical doctor, we are there, our enemy is disease. So why should I refuse to go for work? I should go for work. I know that I will meet that. And that's where I make my living, all those things. So I don't think that I will get scared to not work.
How do you describe then the levels of angst and anxiety amongst medical professionals?
Wow. For the past, since this COVID came, of course, we had our own problem before, which are not yet sorted out.
What problems are those?
Condition of work, things like that. And I know there's a big team which is working on them. Very soon, I'm sure we'll be the happiest people. So,
how are the conditions of service?
They are okay for now, but not the expected one. It's just like, on the standard. So,
and back to the question, the levels of angst and anxiety amongst medical professionals.
Yeah, we are, it looks like us, we are offering a lot of ourselves, our initiative. You know, a doctor or a medical personnel, we work according to what we have. For example, I want to work, I need to give this, since I like my Panadol, which cured me, I want to give this person the Panadol, but I don't have it. You see, and that person will say, that doctor is not a good doctor, he didn't treat me, I went there, he just wrote and he left. Whereby I don't have what to give. So those are the issues I'm saying. That's why we are imploring the government, our ministry, to provide us with essential and adequate instruments so that we can deliver properly as the people want.
Do you feel frustrated sometimes?
Of course.
Most of the times?
Not most of the time, but they are. But since this, let me repeat it, I'll be saying it. Since this COVID came, it just changed everything. It paralyzed all sectors. You know, even economy, school for kids, all those things. When you frustration come from all the corners. Like for me now, I see my kids are home. They're not going to school. Are they becoming down? Are they? It's part of stress, frustration, trying to find out. Just as I'm talking, I got even a teacher for my kids to be coming home. When my daughter just said, no, teacher, daddy has corona, the teacher ran away. This is another type of stigma.
You work for the University Teaching Hospital, the biggest hospital in Zambia.
Yes.
How many roughly cases do you think you are recording on an everyday basis, brought in dead people?
Is this question related to the COVID or it's general?
COVID, specifically COVID or COVID-related deaths.
Yeah, COVID-related death, I think it will be difficult for me to give you the figure because one, I'm not into that department. But previously, if it was not COVID and other issues, I could give you, by the time I was heading the casualty department, I had an eye on the mortuary. So there I could give you some figures.
But do you think the figures that are being reported or given out publicly are accurate? Because people are disputing those figures.
Yeah, if people are disputing, they should bring the proof that... but I don't know. I don't know anyway. It's out of my field or my department. So I'm not the right person to comment on that.
Generally speaking, do you think Zambians appreciate doctors like yourselves in this period especially?
Yes, definitely. We are being appreciated because we are really helping. Actually, for you to call me and say whatever I'm saying, sharing with them my experience, I think it's a sort of appreciation. I know they will appreciate out there. One will pick one or two things which can help.
We've seen a trend in recent months where Zambians are taking to social media to raise funds in order for them to travel abroad for different kinds of treatment, especially those stemming from COVID. What do you make of that?
I beg your pardon?
We've seen a trend
Yeah.
where Zambians are taking to social media to raise funds to travel outside the country for treatment. As a doctor, seeing these people here, what do you make of that?
No, I don't think that there's any need to travel abroad for this disease. Because this disease has really humbled all of us. Personally, I was in a VIP ward at Levy where I was admitted. We were there with a lot of ministers there, MPs, we were there. So this disease, there's no need for you to go abroad. You will go abroad to do what? Because even abroad, in fact, unless people are not watching TV, that's where it's really catastrophic. So I don't think that there's any need, unless they have other motive behind, but I don't think.
And lastly, what word of advice would you give people as someone who treats patients that have got COVID-19 and someone who actually suffered from the virus?
I'm so sorry. You know, this, I repeat again my word that the viewers can forgive me. This is real. It's real and it's deadly. So what I will tell people out there, in fact, I wouldn't wish anyone to go through what me personally I went through. Because my experience, I can resume it into two. As in, first of all, as a victim and as a medical doctor. So as a victim, I think we should just get to respect what the public health guidance is. They say, mask up, have your mask. Sanitize, have it. And you know, in medicine, we always say it's better to prevent than to treat or cure. So why would you want to be careless? You get the disease, you go in the hospital where you have no specific treatment, whereby we are just treating whatever is there, things like that. No. Hence, we have the proper medicine, which is the prevention. Wash your hand, social distancing, mask up, sanitize. It's enough for that. Yeah.
Doc, thank you very much for spending time on Studio Ken.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Hi, this is James Chamanga. You're watching Studio Ken. Don't forget to subscribe.